Welcome to the Angelscapes podcast, where you're encouraged to uncover and develop a direct connection with your soul's power, wisdom, and spiritual intuition that is ready to blossom. We'll explore new ideas, compelling tips, and real steps to help you learn simple spiritual practices. We're a safe place to learn more about accessing your soul's power with education and spiritual wholeness that could bring more clarity to your life. Now here's your host, a practicing medium, Akashic Records practitioner, spirit artist, coach, and mentor, Dr. Reverend Nancy Smith.
Do you need a boost to get you moving to do what you really need to do in your life? And do you want some ideas how to catalyze yourself? Join me tonight with Dr. Kevin Ross Emery, and we're talking about how to revitalize and boost your life in a spiritual way. Hello, this is Angelscapes, and I am your host, Nancy Smith. And Dr. Kevin Ross Emery is a sought-after leader, innovator, author, teacher, and synergistic catalyst speaker and an expert in the ADD-HD field. He has worked for such companies as American Express, Dartmouth College, Hilton, and Sheraton. In the 80s, he was a driving force for the creation and implementation of training programs in the banking, retail, food, and financial service industries. He's been around the block in many different ways. He also has a doctorate in divinity. He's been held as one of the earlier innovators who integrated the concepts of coaching and counseling seamlessly into a single process known as synergistic catalysm. We're going to talk about that right off the bat. He studied both Eastern and Western philosophies and healing systems, obtaining his doctorate of divinity degree from Universal Brotherhood University. And Dr. Kevin synthesizes these studies and modalities into his work. His trademark blend of coaching, counseling, and skill is beyond anything that I've ever seen anywhere else. So welcome, Dr. Kevin. So glad you could come.
Absolutely. I am thrilled to be here. As you know, Nancy, you're right up there as one of my favorite people. I've told you that before, even when we're not on air. So
thank you. I did not pay you to say that.
No, she did not. I'll take the money later. So, a lot of times people will ask me because, it just happened. I was at a networking event. And when I say catalyst, they say, well, then you're a consultant. Nope. Well, then you're a coach. No. Well, what are you? Well, there's a good place to start. Just ask. As a catalyst, and I've been in full-time practice for 33 years.
Okay.
And so I just kind of want you, I know but I want the listeners to understand we're talking about something that has been evolving over decades.
Correct.
And has been evolving through, at this point, tens of thousands of hours of clients and people that I've worked with. And so at the beginning, when I first when I first left corporate America after, I was close to 15 years in corporate America, and went back to the spiritual world, which I had spent my teenage years in the spiritual world. I had started being a professional psychic when I was 16 in the 70s, and I kind of, in 1990, I started weaving together my early degrees in business and psychology, my psychic work, my spiritual work, all of the stuff that I spent doing, and it all wound around. And, and people will say, come on, saying, what do you do? And I'm going to tell you at the beginning, my stock answer for a lot of people was, I don't know, what do you need? Because whatever you need is what I'm going to do. If you're drawn to me, sit down, shut up, and let's see what it is. And, and then I was working at some shops when I left corporate America and started my own spiritual practice. And, and I had a few owners say, you might want to be a little nicer, a little more diplomatic. I was like, I didn't sign on with diplomacy. Who told you that? But so as I did this, at first I called it spiritual detective work. And I literally, in the very beginning, first few years of my practice, I kind of looked at it as, I've got the psychic abilities, which give me information. I have all of the tools and skill sets that I've learned through traditional methods and have developed through corporate world. Because by the time I left corporate, I was developing and teaching classes on management development and communications and listening. And I mean, I was teaching a lot of stuff from a corporate perspective, but it still all had to do with people and understanding people.
Right.
And so when I started putting it together, it's like, I feel like I'm a spiritual detective. And back in the time, I was a big Miss Marple fan. Love Agatha Christie. And I would sit in my office and when I started by doing the psychic, because it was easy, sit down, do a psychic reading, open up, blah, and people get some incredibly potentially powerful information. And this is my realization that it was potentially powerful, but information without application is useless.
Yes. This is why I get excited about your work, because you
have to apply it, and you have to take it. And then I realized that a lot of it was letting my psychic know where I needed to stick my nose, poke at things. I used to tell people all the time, in fact, I still do when they first start working with me, I will give you homework assignments and you'll look at a homework assignment and go, we didn't talk about this at all, anywhere, nowhere in the session. Where did it come from? It's driving me crazy. And my response to you is, shut up and do it.
All right. So then what's the why? What happens next with that?
Well, I give people homework because, well, first of all, I have to tell you, the number one reason that I give people homework is I need them to be working as hard as I am. I need them to have more skin in the game than just writing a check. Writing a check is nice. Paying me is nice. But I've fired clients. I've had clients I've refused to accept money from because I know they weren't willing to do the work.
So what does the work look like? And I know, because it's like you're saying, do the work. And I've had people say, do the work. And I'm like, what work? So what is the work?
Well, I think the work is an individually created thing for each person for where they are and where they can be. And I look at the work as, when I go in, I will usually, a lot of times people like met me at a psychic fair or met me somewhere, got a reading, and I pointed out 5 or 6 things that are really out of balance or not working in their life.
Mm-hmm.
And it just comes to me. And some people start the work with me, which is, the work is the journey. It's the work to you. It's you understanding who you are, why you're here, what you're here to do, and to help you become empowered and embrace your greatness. We all come with inherent greatness. So we're born as a gift to the universe. And the amount in which we are able to actualize, understand, and embrace who we are is the percentage of the gift we give to the universe.
Okay.
So the work is, let's get rid of the stuff that holds you back. Let's correct the lies that you were told that you didn't know were lies. Let's heal the traumas, heal the inner child, the inner child that is running the show at the worst of times. Let's look, sometimes my work also, sometimes people come into my work. I always say there's doorways people come in. They may come in through the physical, which is literally a health issue. They know I'm a medical intuitive. They know that I'm going to work with them and help them have a better relationship with their body. They know that I will help them talk to their disease and their illness. I will help and be somebody at their table along with whoever else is there, whether it's a medical doctor, a DO, a homeopath, whatever. I am a seat at the table. I don't go in there and say, you got to fire everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
I go in there and say, I have a unique perspective, and we're going to find out what your body needs and why spiritually, emotionally, and intellectually you brought this issue. And as we heal and peel back those layers, your body will let you and let us do things that oftentimes I have heard through the years that Western medicine says is impossible. And it's impossible from their perspective. From the way they do things, it would be impossible. But if a body tells me it's capable of doing something and what it needs to do to get that done, I provide that. I don't sell miracle cures. I'm not selling one-hit wonders of, hey, you know, buy this and it will make your hair grow, walk your dog, and make you 50 years younger and 40 pounds lighter. Like, yeah, I don't do the miracle stuff because there is no one thing that fixes everybody. First of all, nobody needs to be fixed. But so the work is the work you need to do to become your next best self. Maybe that's through the medical door. Sometimes people come to me because they come to me to do couples work. They've been recommended to me because I've helped some couples they've known either find renewal in their relationship or find a peaceful end to it. So that work starts with there. But like if I work with couples, I insist that I work with each of them individually and the couple together.
Okay.
So the work depends on the person, but it's always the work to your next best self. And the tools on the tool belt show up as they're needed. Does that make sense when I say that? Have I answered the question or not?
No, it's great. So the tools are individual to each person, but sounds like you have a big bag of tools that you will apply intuitively when somebody walks through your door.
Yeah, and all that happens is, you know, my tool belt just gets bigger and sags like every other part of me in old age because I've just been around longer. You know, we were talking before we went on air, and I actually even said the phrase, you know, you remember the one-hit wonders, right? They had the one-hit gold song or whatever. And I find that exists in the spiritual community, that some people have a one-hit wonder tool and they try to everybody fit that tool.
Yeah, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Yeah.
And, you know, so when you go in there, whether somebody comes to me because they say, I want to develop my spiritual abilities. Well, I've been teaching psychic development courses for 33 years. I can help you there. I want to prepare myself to bring in a relationship. Well, good. We'll start with the relationship with yourself, because somewhere there is a problem with it if you keep on bringing in with people that you can't have a healthy, happy, functional relationship with.
Yeah.
You know, so
let's go back to a little bit to the word catalyst, because when you're talking about intuitive tools and applying your tools, but there's something else going on when you're working with people that's energetic, synergistic. What is that?
So, synergy is when the whole is larger than the sum of its parts. That's just the definition of synergy. Catalyst is an agent that you add that will give something, will make something perform better, will help something, grow better, will somehow affect the situation, or whatever. The catalyst, it kind of is the zoom that moves you forward.
Yeah.
And so the synergistic catalyst, and sometimes I refer, when I'm doing, like, sometimes because I do business work still, and I'll just say, well, I'm a business catalyst. But I only work with businesses that I can work with owners, because I'm not going to ever work in a corporate business where I can do all of this work and then it goes up to a board that refuses it because, it doesn't, I don't know. It was a bad Wednesday when they voted. Whatever. They don't get it because they weren't part of it. And so, so I do that. And of course, as you know, I do a lot of work with ADD and ADHD. I have 5 books out on it and stuff like this. So sometimes I'll just say ADD, ADHD catalyst. The synergistic catalyst kind of does bring them all together in a way, because there's synergy in all things. There's the potential for synergy in all things. And so a lot of times we don't see the interconnectedness of our whole life.
Right.
Our spiritual life, our emotional life, our intellectual life, our physical life. We have to add to that synergy our psychic life, our intuitive life, our spirit, that part of the spiritual life, not just, which knee am I going to bend on when I talk to my God or goddess. But there is also the synergy of your past. You have to add in the synergy of your past, the synergy of your dreams, and the synergy of your potential futures.
Right.
And a lot of times, I try to explain to people when and I'm sure you do the same thing. When I sit down with somebody and do a psychic reading, if they ask about something, I can say, well, first of all, future's not in granite, right? We all know this.
Mhm.
It can be changed, it can be shifted. But also that when we look at a potential future, we can find ways you can influence it, impact it, shift it. There's a lot of power there. And a lot of times people don't cash in on the power of, well, can I ever do X? Like I've had people say, can I ever find the person of my dreams? Which oftentimes is the most aggravating question you get at a psychic fair. Where does the person? And, being a kind, compassionate, spiritual person, I go, when you get your act enough together to deserve it, why do you ask?
I had a conversation with somebody who does it, it's got to be pretty much every question, every list of questions, and that's right in there. Where's my person? And I have a series of bad relationships, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, what part of you is interacting with what part of the person you're with? So we talk about integration of all of their personalities. And so the 14-year-old isn't picking the partner and then interacting as a 14-year-old, and all of a sudden the adult shows up and nobody can handle it, kind of thing. So you talk about a little bit about that, about the youngsters and the inner child and all that.
Yeah. Well, one of the things is that I find it interesting because I have reached a place which I am very thankful for, that it's very rare I get a psychic junkie anymore. My reputation precedes me. When you talk about tools in my tool belt, one of the tools I was given many years ago by a reporter who interviewed me and referred to me as the psychic sledgehammer.
Yes, I've heard that.
Yes, that I am the psychic sledgehammer. And that sledgehammer tool is going to be used to pound away your delusions that somehow taking 31 days and going, I bring the person of my dreams, is going to make it happen.
Right.
So, somebody asked me that question, I may go, well, first I get, you're not ready for an adult because you're not an adult, that you still have these children that are interfering, or you have these things that you're holding on to. I get you need to do this work, that it's time to heal this thing, that I get, and I will give them a laundry list. Like I have sent people out with 10 or 12 things they need to do on themselves to be ready. And then, yes, they can bring somebody in which they will have this dream relationship with, which is actually 10 times better than they ever dreamed it. Because when they were dreaming it, they were dreaming it from such a dysfunctional place.
Correct. Yeah.
They didn't know what real intimacy was. They can't even be intimate with themselves.
Right.
Make me feel loved. Love yourself first, honey.
And then there you go. And there's all kinds of time. How do you love yourself? Why don't you love yourself? What does that mean to love yourself? That whole thing, it's a journey.
But I'll tell you, probably 8 out of 10 times, if I'm doing a psychic fair and I have somebody ask me the question and I give them the laundry list of things they do, 8 out of 10 times I will never hear from them again. They're not interested in doing the work. They're just in whining about it.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, because you have people who are inspired to do the work because, I don't know, maybe they're sick and tired. Where does spirit and where does your soul and your push come in, and where does courage and then I just give up? I'll go into the washing machine. How do you help them?
Well, for me, I unfold it as, these are the things I see you need to work on. It's your choice whether you want to stay where you are now. And I'll say to them, do you want to stay where you are? Or do you want to be,
It's a choice. Right.
Yeah, first of all, I give them the choice. And then I say, okay, so now let's look at what that choice looks like. So that means we're going to have to dig into the fact that you had this extremely abusive relationship with your mother, which you both pretend doesn't happen. Well, she's still abusing you as an adult. And when I said that, you were like, oh my God, you're so good. You're so right. That's exactly what happened. but you haven't fixed it. You
Mhm.
haven't broken your partnership in the dance. And so part of what we need to do is that dance needs to go away. Because at the end of the day, and again, I'm just picking things arbitrarily that I've actually said in readings, but of course we'll never know who, and it could have been 20 years ago I said it. But I've said, as long as you choose to allow your mother to abuse you, you will only bring in men that abuse you, because that's what you set it up for.
Mhm.
And so you keep on hoping that maybe you'll figure it out. And then this goes back, and this irritates some people. So, you chose your mother. Let's figure out why. What did you need to get from her? And then we can figure out whether we want to keep her or not. No one has to keep their mother for their whole life. No one has to keep their father. You don't have to keep your children. You have to fulfill your commitment to those people, but know what that is.
Mhm.
And sometimes the only way you have a happy life is to walk away from all the people that everyone's horrified that you think you would ever be allowed to walk away from. Bullshit. All I can say is one thing, two words: wire hangers.
Wire hangers?
Obviously, you never saw the Joan Crawford movie where her daughter Christina talked about how she used wire hangers on her as a kid.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, true story.
Oh, that's awful. That's awful.
So how I do it is I invite, I make clear what it looks like, and then I tell them, we do part of the journey. You may decide to go out and adjust, and in fact, sometimes you need to. Sometimes I tell you you have to. Sometimes
Okay.
I tell people, I need you to go away and come back and see me in 3 or 4 months. I need you to apply this. I need it to be applied in your life for you to be ready for the next thing.
Mhm.
And this goes back to one of my huge pet peeves, which is fast food spirituality. Everybody wants to pick up a McDonald's shake, Big Mac, and their spirituality on drive-through. And none of it has nutrients.
Okay. Now describe that a little bit more. Let's pull that apart. Fast food, drive-through, spirituality. Let's talk about that, because this is important.
It is. It's you. So first of all, in fact, I made this comment on Facebook today. And if anybody wants to follow my Facebook page, my Dr. Kevin is the Facebook page as well as the website. But somebody talked about they were so disappointed they went to hear this famous actor who was talking about spiritual subjects, and and they were saying all the right buzzwords. And I'm like, yeah, I said, these are the events that are crossovers between parrots who are speaking words that they don't understand and fast food spirituality, because there's no depth, no understanding, no application. These people never applied one of these in their life, but they know how to sell it.
You're right. Because I see the selling, I see it constantly, and I see Facebook is amazing for the memes, or buy my program or do my thing, and then people will come probably to you or to me and say, I did all this and I'm still struggling with this other thing. And I think it's up to you and some of the work I do to let's now apply it, or let's take the next step in. It was in your head still. It's not in you energetically. It's not in you in your belief systems and your structure. What would you
Well,
see?
it's also, you don't actually really understand it. So much of spirituality is paradoxes. It's being able to step out of your linear logical mind and yet have it right there at the same time. It's the ability to align the abstract with the analytic. Human is man God. It's the ability to merge together and then go back to the word synergy and create a synergy in a being that can be both spiritual and be fully in touch with their human. Spiritual people that are out there that say, I'm too good to be involved with politics, or I'm too good to get involved with these little things in the world, or I'm above that, are cowards. They're cowards, and I have no use for them. If you're really a spiritual person that cares about the world and humanity, you should be out there as a spiritual warrior. Being in your little corner, being holier than thou, makes you no better than the Pope sitting up there making stupid comments because he's never starved a day in his life, and he's telling starving people they should give more money to the church. And I shouldn't say the Pope. This is more like the mega churches down in Texas.
Mega churches, yeah. I think Pope Francis kind of got a little bit more of that going on, but right. But
yeah, I apologize to Pope. This is the best Pope they've had since they had the female Pope about 1,000 years ago. That no one wants to talk about.
But no, don't talk about it. But it's true. The bring in your I am holier than life. Well, here's the thing. For me, it's like you have your spirituality, which is throwing out the ego, and for me, that's a schism. That's like you just ripped yourself apart. Where I think it's spirituality and who you are as a person, integrating it and understanding what you are capable of doing.
So a couple of things I want to respond to what you said, Nance. The first thing is that, in my book, Combing the Mirror and Other Steps in Your Spiritual Path.
Which, guys, look for that book. It's on Amazon, Combing the Mirror. It's very, very good.
And you know what? Each chapter, the longest chapter is 3 pages with a homework assignment. It gives you a concept, and then it makes you work to apply the concept into your life. And it talks about how you discover what your soul's here to do. But in there, I've broken it up because I'm so tired of people really not understanding the true meaning of ego. And they've confused it with the late 19th century psychobabble about ego, instead of understanding that, first of all, I call it, and I got this from a woman that we were business partners. I always called her my spiritual wife. She's passed on now, but I loved her dearly. And she gave me the term ELF, essential life force, which is that thing that comes through you, that is the knowing of all the meaning of the universe. You ignore it most of the time, but it's flowing through us all. And she just called it ELF. I like that. I used it in the book. But also ego and ego constructs. And I define ego constructs is the things that your family, society, environment built around who you were to tell you who you were supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
Your ego is your unique face of God. You're supposed to embrace your unique face of God, and accept that you have a unique face of God, and you don't. And when you get into your ego constructs, one of my favorite things to say is, when man reached this point, man reaches a point individually or as a group, collective group, that says, oh, I have God in me, therefore I am God. And if it would stop there and they would start living in a God reality, they'd be okay. But inevitably, their next step, and I have to say this, it usually happens more with the males, is to go, so I am God. So I am your God. Here's my God, and you need to be my God, and here's the patriarchy, and here's the way it is. And no, you're not here to be anybody else's God. You're here to accept the fact you have the ability to be divine. You have God within you. You have your own unique face of God, that no one can ever be that face, never has, never will be that particular unique face of God. And, but so I look at that ego as being a fully thing that we want. And we've been blackmailed, and we have been gaslighted to make the ego a horrible thing, because ego constructs say, oh, you need to bow at the altar of your local church, and you have to give your power away to authority figures, and you need to remember your place, and you were born in sin, and you're hopeless, and all of that's all ego construct crap. That has nothing to do with the reality. Integration, your second thing I'm going to comment on, and then I'll let you. I'm sorry, I'm doing a lot of talking. Integration. most of what I see in religions and a fair number of alternative spirituality is what I call a homogenization, pasteurization version. We do it to history. We whitewash history, just like we homogenize and pasteurize milk, we do it to history. We also do it to religion, and we do it to spirituality. And we try to make it something that is palatable to the largest amount of taste. And you're going to do it and you're going to drink it even if you don't like it. You're going to drink the Kool-Aid because it's good for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not supposed to question it. And, I have done a lot of work helping people get out of cults. And some of those cults are some of the major religions that are out there in the world today, professing holier than thou attitudes. And the way you can tell they're a cult is one of the first things they do is teach you not to think, teach you not to question, absolute obedience, and then tell you you are inherently wrong and you're never going to get anywhere unless you listen to how they tell you to get there. You're never going to make it to heaven. Cult written all over it. And that's your mega churches in Texas. That's your Mormons in Utah. This is your born again. It's definitely your Christian nationalist. But all of these people that are bully Christians have homogenized and pasteurized. But we see the same thing in the spiritual community. They just do it a little differently. They're going to quote or teach you something that they have never taken the time to walk, to integrate, to truly understand. And then they're going to give you the version they needed it to be for them. And then if you don't accept it, this whole thing drives me crazy that, like in some healing systems like Reiki, that the Reiki master will tell you when you're ready, when they've decided you're ready. Load of crap. That's hierarchy. That's just stealing stuff from the Catholic Church.
What do you mean when you're Reiki, you're ready to go to the next level, level?
Your Reiki master tells you when you're ready.
Well,
if your Reiki master actually attuned you to Reiki and attuned you to the energy of the universal life force, and you have this awareness, when you're ready for the next level.
okay.
You don't need somebody who decides whether they need the money in the pocket this week or next week to tell you.
It's self-authority, your own spiritual authority of your own spiritual self. Yeah.
But integration, unlike homogenization and pasteurization, which tries to bring it all together and then create a big blob of something that is nothing, when you really poke at it,
Yeah.
it's just a lot of chemicals.
American cheese. Yeah.
Okay. Integration, like you and I do with clients, is, and I describe it as cobblestones in my book, in Combing the Mirror, that we all have a cobblestone path. That's our spiritual path. And some of them are round stones, and some of them are actual cobblestones, and some are big and some are small. And it is our passage through it and our interaction with it that cements it into a unique spiritual path. So you might have a tiny little block that is Judaism. You might have a big block that's Buddhism. You might have another block that's paganism. You might have a block which is energy healing. That all of these different things are your unique, and integration is saying, where does that fit into my life? I don't give my life to it. It comes in and I integrate it in a way which, if it fits, becomes part of my life, the part that works, and I leave the rest behind. And then I go on and do the next thing.
Yep. And that is when you're sovereign unto yourself. And I think the biggest thing for that integration, or one of the pieces that are important to me, is that what you do with your spiritual path with God is between you and God. There's nothing in between you. There's not dogma. There's not another person saying this is how you do it. You're finding your own way, and you're becoming strong in your own relationship with that higher power. That's what integration brings you. I feel.
Becoming integrated is like becoming authentic.
Yep.
And and in fact, that's one of the things. because I've got a new course coming out this spring, and it's called MIA Communications.
I want to hear about this.
MIA is Mastering Intentional Authentic Communication. And as a mastery course, the first module that people take has 8 classes in it, 6 to 8. I'm actually still in the process of, as I continue to tape and create the course, I keep on going. If I'm going to keep these at 75 minutes, it might not be 6, it might be 7. Oh, it's probably going to be 8.
Okay.
So much to share. So that's why I'm in the process of finishing it up now. But the first module is called Me versus Me.
Okay.
And it's all about where we have the internal conflict and chaos that does not allow us to have intentional and authentic communications, because we are not authentic in ourselves. We have a bunch of warring voices, and we have a bunch of things that do not agree with each other. And at any given moment, if we are not healed and integrated, we are not communicating authentically, because we don't know what authentic is.
Right there. We don't know what authentic is. It's a beautiful place to start. I love it.
And then the next module, which will be another 6 to 8 classes. And these classes, I'm gearing that all going to be about 75 minutes, because people will watch it. These are all pre-taped. This part of the course is all pre-taped. Is going to be me and the world. Then how do I take that me out into the world, and how do I negotiate those intentional, authentic communications, especially when I'm dealing with people who may themselves be lost in, they don't know what is authentic. They don't know the questions to ask. I always say that the person that has the highest relationship IQ is responsible for the communication.
Yeah.
Because if you have somebody that's stuck at still trying to figure out 2 + 2 = 4, you can't expect them to be talking algebra with you. But if you recognize that this is a communication you want to have or need to have, you need to find that middle ground and mediate it, that you can get them past 2 + 2 = 4. You may not get them to algebra, but you may at least get them into a place of consensus, a place of, in a place of synergy. You may be able to do those things. And so that's the second module. And there'll be a monthly support group if you take the class, where you can, then I'll do a live, a live thing where people that are taking the class can bring in their homework, because of course there's homework, and ask questions and do things as part of the class. And then there'll be mastery weekends. So, I'll take up to 4 couples, or 4 business partners, or 4 family groups, or 2 family groups, depending on how big the groups are, or whatever, for a whole weekend of intensive, applying everything into the nitty-gritty of your life, so you can see what it looks like.
Wow. That's going to be transformative.
Yeah.
Really.
So, but it's so important, because you and I both know that communication breakdown, the inability to communicate successfully, causes more problems in relationship than anything. And sadly, most people get started in the middle instead of at the beginning. They get started in the middle. They walk in a more traditional couples therapy, and the therapist is kind of talking about their communication with each other, and never checks in on how clear is your communication with yourself. Do you actually know what you want?
Right.
Do you know why you want it?
Really true.
Do you
Yeah.
know why you say one thing and your actions say something else? Well, how can your partner know what you want?
So is this this new mastery course, is it for couples in specific, or is it for anyone who wants to come in, or?
Anyone. Anyone can take the course that is interested in having better communication skills and better relationships. The weekend retreats will be geared for small groups that have a similar theme they want to investigate, where I investigate it with them and then they learn from each other.
Okay. Oh, nice. How can people find out about this, or where can they, when is it coming out, and where will it be? It will be on mydrkevin.com. Or can you
It
see?
will definitely, you can go and sign up on the mydrkevin.com mailing list right now. You'll be notified when it comes out. I've got some big secrets I can't go into, but let's just say, I will say that I am doing a whole new launch and branding come middle of May. And so that will be shortly after that the course comes out. But if you're on the mydrkevin.com mailing list right now, you will get all the information you need if you want to take the course. And you buy the first module and you go through it and you come to the support groups, and then you decide if you want to buy the second module. And then if you,
Oh, it's buying it one module at a time. Okay.
yeah, well, but and a module's all the classes in the first one and then all the classes in the second. You can't buy the classes individual.
Right. Understood. Very cool. So I really recommend everyone run over to mydrkevin.com if you're wherever you are, plug it into your browser and sign up. Because this really powerful stuff. Not many people are offering this kind of stuff where you're integrating spirituality with really seriously personal growth. As far as I can tell, there's only a handful of people out there doing this kind of work, and I take advantage of this. But
Do we have anybody asking any questions? I know you're checking the Facebook thing, and I'm just curious. Are we getting just comments, or does anybody have any questions? I would love to.
there's lots of hellos, and people are popping in. Raina just came in, Mike, and any questions, guys, just pop them into the Facebook group and I will ask Dr. Kevin. So far, they're listening.
Well, hopefully that means that they're engaged.
So, yes.
So we talked about, where does the path of transformation start? And so there's a couple of things that I want to share with you, which are tools I use regularly in my practice, or concepts. And concepts can be tools. And as we've talked, information without application is useless. And sometimes it's just the presenting of concepts. And sometimes the tool aspect of it is your ability to communicate it in enough different ways that whoever is across from you, whether it's a one-on-one or, I've been on stage and, had 700 plus people out in the audience. I haven't broken 1,000 yet, but I'm not dead. I don't think. Are you channeling me? Is this mediumship, Nancy? Are you showing off your mediumship abilities? Is that I like to start with bringing up and challenging basic concepts. And part of the tool is challenging and knowing when and how to challenge. Part of the skill set is being able to challenge in a way in which it is an empowering invitation, instead of them feeling defensive or them feeling like, it triggers their own self-worth or value issues or things like this.
Yeah.
And so a couple of things is, the majority of people in the Western world get brainwashed from a young age that they don't deserve to be great, that they are somehow, that, pride is a sin. If you think too much of yourself, you're an egotist, you're egotistical. We have all of this messaging that, and even things like, don't get above yourself.
Oh, you're talking about the whole way I was raised, in my whole world. So yeah, I think that this is everyone pretty much.
And it happens in different ways. It happens a lot of times traditionally, and some of this has changed and some of it is not. It depends on the culture and the time. And that goes back to why I call my early work spiritual detective work, because a lot of times, in order to help people understand and truly forgive, we would be talking about where did their parents come from and where were they raised and what lies did they believe? Were they given that they didn't know they were passing on? Like, you have to have some understanding, but here's a couple of simple things that I think are very powerful. If people can just do this, bring these concepts in, is, I pointed out, I'm wearing a t-shirt that says unapologetically kind.
Love that t-shirt. Yeah, yeah.
And I bought it because it was the World Day of Bullying Prevention 2022, Stomp Out Bullying, a nonprofit organization. I bought the t-shirts to help them raise money. I got one for me, one for my husband, one for my father-in-law, because he likes blue. And and he is a very kind man. But one of the things is, we do feel like we're supposed to apologize, like kindness is a bad thing. That somehow we're a sucker, we're being taken advantage of, that there's something wrong with us when we're kind.
How many times have you heard kindness and codependence mushed in together?
Yep. And so when you are kind and you do it apologetically, you actually discount the value of the kindness, you discount your value, and you discount the value of the person you're doing it for. Now, when you can step into unapologetic kindness, when you can say, being kind is something that makes me happy, it brings me joy, it's who I want to be in the world, and it's the world I want to have around me, a world that sees the value to being unapologetically kind. The person who says, no, I can be 5 minutes late for my appointment as I help a disabled person cross a street, or an older person that's struggling pick something up or do something. Like, acts of kindness shift and change the world. Now, when I talk about this to people, sometimes they get it intellectually, sometimes they can even get it emotionally. Let me tell you what the biggest block is. The biggest block is when I tell them they have to start by being unapologetically kind to themselves.
Can you do that? I mean, isn't that hard to do sometimes? As you're running around, pushing yourself to the absolute limit of whatever it is. And your hell self is saying, can we just sit down?
When you recognize that you are unkind to yourself, one of the reasons you're unkind to yourself is you don't think you deserve kindness.
Mhm.
And the other reason is you don't value yourself enough to set boundaries, to say no, to do what's reasonable, to live in the values you espouse. I love these people that says, oh, my kids are the most important thing in the world, that work 70 hours a week, who have all the other adults in the world raising them, who yell at them when they make noise when they're at home because they're trying to sleep or
Mhm.
recover or whatever, have little or no engagement and a ton of expectations for them. Oh, my children are most important.
Mhm.
Well, I don't even know what color pill you took, because I think that far surpasses red or blue, but it's certainly in the delusional category.
It's
Kindness to a child is not a toy, it's time.
time, and it's listening, and it's patience, and it's engaging, and it's not a straight line, and it's frustrating. And
So if you want to start the pathway of spiritual transformation, start by working on becoming unapologetically kind to yourself.
I love that.
Catch yourself when you're beating yourself up and say, whose voice is that? What expectation?
Yeah.
And did I agree to it?
Right.
Did I agree to that expectation? And so I think that again, that's so powerful. And so when you do that, so that's one. And the other is my Dr. Kevin definition of empowerment. And empowerment is the power to be uniquely who you are without apology. And that is one of the other early things that I think is so important that can start you on the path of spiritual transformation. Those are two very simple things, but yet very difficult. But very simple, because the power to be uniquely who you are without apologizing for it, because we're taught that every time we do something, if anybody within 50 yards might be offended, we're supposed to, oh, sorry. I didn't mean to talk so loud. I didn't mean to do this. I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry. And that is all done by those who wish to control us. The hierarchy, whether it's government, religion, institutions, who created an education system to teach us how to work an assembly line, not challenge their authority.
Exactly. The socialization towards the end of somebody else's goal, not yours, not your divinity.
But that power to be uniquely who you are without apology means that you walk out in the world in a different way. And I have clients ask me, I had one just asked me recently, they're like, well, do you ever get pushback? And I said, when I'm in the power of being myself, and that's not rude. Rude is not empowered. Okay. Or being disdainful or looking your nose down at somebody. I mean, there's all sorts of things people would like to think is empowerment, which is a load of shit. But true empowerment is knowing that you have the power within you to respond, to be yourself, to not give your power to other people who they are, and to be kind, and it can be nice and whatever. And, when I say something like, so, it's not uncommon. You've not spent a lot of time. We've never gone shopping together or had dinner together. We'll have to rectify that one of these days. Somebody will say, how are you? And I'll go, well, I'm only fantastic, but I'm working towards fabulous, but I have confidence I'll get there. Or some variation of that. And some people laugh. Some people get really nervous. Some people shut down. Some people say, who do you think you are? I get all sorts of responses. But when I get a negative response, my first thing is to go, oh, honey, I'm sorry. You're having a bad day. So what can we do to make your day better? Because I want you to have a fabulous day like I am. When anybody says the word, I think you did this to me once, they'll go, perfect. And I'll go, oh, thank you for noticing. You're perfect too. People stop and they go, huh? But we have this alter idea of perfection that is unrealistic and unattainable. And it has been set up by people who benefit from us feeling like we're never not good enough.
It's a trap. Yeah. I'm glad you're saying it. It's a big trap.
It's a huge trap. And so when we can be like, and you and I were talking about this before we went on air, I call it, I just did, if you sign up for my Dr. Kevin, I put out a monthly mailing list, and I always have a video and an article. And one of my recent articles was Evolving Perfection. And anything that we're doing authentically, fully present, we are participating in, and we allow it to come in and help us evolve to our next best self is perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you are in evolving perfection. You are out of evolving perfection when you have to dig in, when you're defensive, when you can't listen to anybody else than your own, when you just keep, rinse and repeating activities, thinking that, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. That's when you're out of perfection, because you're out of the perfection of your becoming.
Yeah, perfection is becoming. I love this. Yeah.
Perfection is becoming.
Yeah.
And, and we shouldn't have to apologize for it. And we should be able to recognize it with other people. I mean, I'm notorious for going out and I'll be sitting at home with my husband at night and we'll talk about our day. And I'll talk about somebody that I went up and they were like really in a bad mood, or they're really shut down. And I got him to laugh, or I got him to giggle, or I got him to smile. And I go, score.
So I just want to say, Lauren made a comment, and I think it's a really good comment. Many people do not have the confidence to be empowered. And kindness is a really good first step. So let's talk about that for a minute. That says a lot right there.
Yeah. So a lot of people don't have the ability to be empowered because they have not sorted out all the lies they were told in their childhood. They still accept them as truths. And they may not have been consciously told to them as a lie. They may have just been a lie that was being passed on. But it is a lie. Lies are usually lies of limitation.
Mm-hmm. Well,
and they're lies of suppression, and they're lies of giving your power away. And I mean, look in the last decade, how many institutions have proven not only how fallible they are, but how foul they are.
mm-hmm.
Like, they're just not nice humans.
They're not kind. No kindness there. I'm telling you right now. Yeah.
And so for some people, Lauren, I salute you and celebrate you if you're one of these people who says, I can work on being a little kinder to myself and to ask the questions. I mean, oftentimes when I work with people through a process, and I tell people, when you work with me, it's a process, and we'll work it for a while, and you'll take a break for a while, and you'll go out in the world for a while. But I have clients from 33 years ago that still come back to me every now and then for 1 or 3 or 4 months worth of sessions because they hit a bump, and they know where to go to help with the bump. But the rest of the time, they're out there doing it. And I just love when I have a client, I literally had a client from my first year of practice 33 years ago who had a session with me within the last 12 months. And she's saying, and this was before I was a doctor, and so she calls me Kev. She's like, and Kev, I thought I heard your voice in my head, and I did this, and I applied that, and I did this, and I got here, but I just couldn't get here. What am I missing? And I love it when they come back to me and show me how they've used all of these tools I've been giving them, and they still reach a bump, and a bump is okay. And in fact, that's why we're here, to send them out of the nest, to make them learn they can do it on their own.
Mm-hmm.
So, but also know the nest door is not closed.
Right. There's a return. Yeah. Yeah.
But kind is a great place to start, Lauren. And if you can start with working a little kinder, and then it's the questions you ask, And I know that that's part of the power of the work I do. I know it's part of the power of the work you do, Nancy, is being willing to ask the tough questions in a kind way.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's a little in the face. Again, I'm the psychic sledgehammer sometimes, because sometimes I have to break through that wall of limitation, and I'll take a couple of good swings at it. And once it cracks, the tears dissolve the rest of the wall.
It's beautiful when that happens. And you're falling into, how I see it is, you're doing it in a spiritual place. You're falling into your soul. You're falling into your higher power. You're not falling apart and disintegrating. You're actually, the walls come down, and the beautiful part of yourself comes out. the powerful part of yourself comes out.
Yeah, it's in all of us. And, one of the advantages that people like you and I, Nancy, have is we at times can get such a clear perspective of somebody else's power that they don't see.
Yeah.
That one of our gifts, and I say our gifts, I know you have this gift as well. We do it differently, but we're very much in harmony and alignment. We have the gift to show them through our eyes who they actually are.
Yes, that is so cool. Yeah. Yeah. It's
And once seen, they can continue to run or avoid it for some period of time, but they can never forget it.
well, yeah. It's wonderful place to be for you and to relationships are mirrors, right? And you have a partner, or you have a parent or the mother that doesn't get, that's not treating you well, or you have a lover, and they show you who you are. Oftentimes you'll just actually, the mirror that's back to you will show you, and it's incorrect sometimes, the mirror, but when you're with somebody who's who's going to hold the form, see you who you are, reflect back, have the clarity to be able to do that, that's really a gift. And I love doing that.
One of the things, I'm just going to turn the light on. I know we're almost done, but I realized I'm fading into the darkness. One of the chapters in my book, Combing the Mirror and Other Steps in Your Spiritual Path, is about circus mirrors. And it's about understanding really all the different ways that mirrors work. So often people just put a one-dimensional definition to mirrors instead of understanding that mirrors work in a lot of different ways. But, before again, I'm happy to go as long as you want, but I know you like to keep it to about an hour. I do want to talk about Voices in the Void. You and I are going to play together.
Yes, this is
Raina, who's on listening to us right now, or was.
I think she's still there. Well, we'll see. Yeah. Well,
Hey, Raina, we're including you in this. This is a joint love fest. But yeah, you want to share Voices in the Void?
Yeah, we're going to do some really experimental things. We're going to get up. We'll be on presenting. It's terrifying. And she's saying hi, Raina, and we're going to present spiritual messages to people. I'm going to bring my drawing board, my drawing tablet. I usually, as a medium, draw images of spirit on the other side, but this time I'm going to draw images of what I see in your soul, what I see in your spirit. And I'm really kind of playing with different tools to see how I could pull that out. It's colorful, abstract, but messages. So you tell me what the Voices of the Void. You've been so excited about this. We got snowed out before. You have a real big thing you want to bring forward on this thing.
Well, one of my greatest spiritual teachers was Wei Chi, who was the voice. I channeled Wei Chi because, I did full body trans channeling for over 18 years, and I channeled over 20 different entities. And Wei Chi, one of my channels that I wrote a book through me and participated in a couple others, was also one of my greatest spiritual teachers. And he always said, all structure was created to transcend. However, we cannot transcend what we do not have, which is why we teach it, and then we help move people beyond it and to transcend it and integrate it, make it uniquely theirs, all the things we've been talking about. I look at this as oftentimes I see events that tend to have a kind of narrow, it's platform mediumship, or it's this or it's that, but it's not organic. It's got a structure of some kind that kind of puts some kind of limits and expectations on both the audience and the speakers. And I'm all about breaking boundaries, not crossing boundaries. breaking boundaries. I'm all about having organic experiences. So when you, Raina, and I do this, and we're going to be running a version of this every fair. So we do a fair every other month. We're doing one in May and then count every other month for the rest of the year. We'll have a in-person psychic fair in Nashua that we'll all three be doing readings at. And then that night, the three of us are going to do it. Down the road, we may trade in some other people here and there, but we're each just going to show up and completely give ourselves to the universe to be whatever that crowd needs. Mm-hmm. To go wherever that crowd is willing to go. I know Raina has talked about she might do some drumming, that she has this meditation, and if it feels right, she's going to do it. I might do some trance channeling, which I don't do a lot of it anymore, but if that's appropriate, one of my channels may come through and decide to do it. We promise everybody that we will give them an opportunity to have a transformational spiritual experience. I can't guarantee that everybody will take us up on the opportunity, but it will be like nothing you have ever experienced. And the synergy between the three of us is going to make this a big bang event.
Really excited about that.
It's going to be, we're going to keep it as a smaller number so that we know that everybody's getting something out of it. People probably will be allowed to answer questions, but it may not. It may be that everybody gets a question answered without asking it. I mean, one of my favorite things to do is when I do psychic readings for people, is I say, don't tell me anything. Let me see what I get. And that's my polite way of what I used to say. Because what I used to say to people is, my job is to tell you what spirit wants you to know. Shut up and listen. And if there's time left over, you can ask questions. I don't care what you want to know. You may write the check. I work for spirit. Yes, I did say that to people for years. I actually did. People go, you didn't really say that, did you? Oh, yes, I did.
You did. Trust me, I heard it. Yeah.
So, and that's what I look at this event as, which is you've had access to some fabulous psychics all day long for individual psychic readings. And as a group, I've had usually they're smaller than this, but I've had some groups where literally people came in that had never met each other, and I came up with a joint past life they'd all had.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, and we're talking about a dozen people.
Wow.
And some of them had never met each other, and the past life fell in and made sense to all of them about, yeah, I play that out in my life, and I see how, yes, that brought that forth, and we do this. So I just don't know. No promises. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm excited because it's really a no holds barred. And it's for people who go, I am ready to be open to whatever is going to help me move me on my spiritual journey, become my next best self.
Yeah.
Our intention will be that everybody there gets things out of it that are in their highest and best good. And then it's a free-for-all.
Free-for-all. Well, I'm hoping people will have a connection to beautiful, messages, different concepts, that the theology, the teachings will be there in a really fun way. Like you said, you could get people to laugh, they learn more, Yep.
Yeah. That's May 19th.
Oh yeah, good. I couldn't remember. May 19th coming up on a Saturday.
I don't remember either. But wait a second. May 20th. Mercury is retrograde. May 20th, we're doing it in Nashua at Positive Street Arts on Bridge Street. The fair will be all day. Voices from the Void will be at night. Any of you out there that are readers that are looking for places to do readings, we have a few spots left. We have started selling tickets to Voices from the Void. There are going to be a limited number, and it is
Golly, when are we having dinner? But I'm trying to think. We covered your books. Actually on Amazon, Kevin Emery, it's Dr. Kevin, has his own page. You have so many books out there. So just go and search for Dr. Kevin. Lots of information. I'd love to, we don't have time, but sometime I want to talk about ADHD and the myth and the wisdom around that. And is there anything else coming up? We've got the New Hampshire Metaphysical is another way to connect into the voices from the void.
Yep. HampshireMetaphysical.com. You can connect in with the readers. You'll be able to pre-book readings for some of the readers. We give readers an option whether they want us to do that or not, but I know some have. I know you can pre-book readings with me. I suspect you can pre-book readings with Nancy. I think, yeah. So,
Yes.
And we're always offering a number of other different events, and things, and we're always looking for people who want to build their spiritual practice by becoming part of New Hampshire Metaphysical, because part of what we do is help connect seekers with practitioners.
Yeah. The beautiful connection. It's lovely, and it's intimate. I feel like it's not overwhelming with thousands. It's you get to see who's doing what where. It's a nice connection. I recommend anybody going there to kind of connect with everybody. Also, whether you're getting a reading or you want to be a reader, a lot of people there do remote. It's not always in person, so don't be concerned if you're out of state. Still connect.
Oh, yeah, because on the weekends we do the in-person fair. We also run a simultaneous remote fair Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So if you're not local, you can just sign up and we promote you out into the universe that you're available for readings Friday, Saturday, Sunday via phone or Zoom, or you can do Friday, Sunday remote and the fair in person. We have a lot of options. So to come to New Hampshire Metaphysical and check it out. And I'm really looking that I want to get more things going. We have a monthly book club now that Ashley Olson is doing. We have the Psychic Message Circle every other month. We just did that. You, I, Lori, and Ginger Hendry. We'll have another one of those in June.
And the readers rotate on that. So you if you could come every month, you'll have a different set of readers. I believe pretty close.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting. Yeah, it kind of depends on who's available. Sometimes 2 of the same readers, 3 of the same readers, sometimes just 1. And again, it all depends.
Yeah.
But I can guarantee you, because right now we're running them every other month, if that reader sees you 2 months later, they're probably gonna have a different message for you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say this, dollar for dollar, it is the cheapest you can pay to get the highest level of readings from top-notch readers that you would have to pay way more than that to have a private session with.
Oh, absolutely.
Private session. But again, we go back to synergy. You have 5 or 6 people in the room and everybody's getting messages. And how often do you hear, oh, that message could have been for me too, or I needed to hear that as well, or whatever. I mean, I hear it all the time, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And not only that, but I hear how the readers, all 4 readers have usually, without realizing it, tied together a consistent message that there's some learning there for you. You walk away with way more than one reading or one concept. It's very exciting to see people leave that. And people do book. It's a great way to get to know the readers, and people will book for a longer session with the reader because they got to feel how they talked or what their personality was. And I want to work more with him. I want to work more with her. So it's a great way to expose yourself to healings and readings and all kinds of good things.
I can't remember who it was, but somebody referred to it as psychic speed dating.
Oh my God. Yeah, I can see that. And but all this stuff that we're talking about, even though it's local, we're talking about it's May or it's going to be June. This is ongoing. So if you listen to this podcast, say next month, you go to NewHampshireMetaphysical.com or go to mydrkevin.com, and there's more stuff going than it's ongoing. So it's a resource.
Yep. And, besides Voices in the Void, who knows? Maybe Nancy and I'll figure out another reason to go on stage together.
That'd be kind of fun. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens in May 20th. I'm so excited.
May 20th. Yeah. Do something completely different.
It's a big deal for me because I'm breaking out of my box because of you. So I hope you bring a broom so we could sweep all the pieces off the stage when.
And I am going to say this from a place of love and kindness. I'm very happy that I helped break you out of a box, because I know nobody gets how much you bring to the game, including yourself. And I want you to see you be as big and expansive and touch as many people as you deserve to.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Any way I can break you out of that box, honey, I'm there with a chisel and a hammer.
Oh, psychic sledgehammer. Okay, we got this.
Okay. Any last questions? We all done? We all set? Or
we have people are excited about coming, and they are agreeing. And so thanks for everyone for listening. And to our future listeners on the podcast, thank you for taking the time to walk through this. There's a lot of good stuff in here. Dr. Kevin, I hope you come on back again. We'll go a little deeper into something.
Absolutely. You got to come on my radio show every Thursday night, 6 p.m. On Ohm Times. I've had a radio show for over 17 years, and we're going to see about getting Nancy on in May or June, probably June. I think May is closed, but June or July, we'll see about getting you on.
Very excited to do that. Great. So we're going to wrap this one down. And as I end the show, I always say, guys, use these tools. You're here to develop your soul. You're here to develop your life and to live the best life possible. And on these shows, we're bringing you tools to employ in your life. And reach out to Dr. Kevin. He's available and he's good. So I want to leave you with peace and blessings and a challenge to bloom out of your comfort zone. Thank you.
Namaste.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining the Angelscapes podcast. We hope you've gained new insights and inspiration for your journey to uncover and access your soul's power. For more information and a deeper dive into finding clarity in your life, go to angelscapes.com. Remember to subscribe so you can be part of the discussion. It may just change your life. See you next time.